We're going to tell you as well about a police officer who's scared of police stations, who, believe it or not, is actually going to be suing the police in order to win some compensation. It's absolutely extraordinary. Anyway, listen, why don't we go straight away to Stephen Barrett, our favourite barrister, and a man who is, of course, the custodian of all things containing common sense. Stephen, a very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
Good morning to you. I'm very well.
Excellent. We're going to have a sort of quick run through some of the stories in the papers. Shall we kick off with Keir Starmer going to China? Because I think that's probably the main event of the day. I'm waiting with bated breath to watch the supplicant Prime Minister of a once great nation getting down on his hands and knees, begging China to give us some money, which I find almost disgusting, actually.
Well, it is. It is disgusting. And the best you can say is that Keir Starmer has done all of this in order to try and get some money out of China. The worst you can say is to suspect that he might have a relationship with them that isn't entirely legal. We'll see in the years to come. It's not seemly. It's not done. I don't know what's happened to our nation. And let's be nice to Keir Starmer. Let's have some balance on that. I also don't understand what the Conservative Party was doing. I don't understand what the Conservative Party was doing in 2018 when it sold the land that this embassy is going to be built on to China. Right. I don't understand what the Conservative Party was doing when it started the talks on the Chagos Islands debacle. Both parties seem in hock to this utterly reprehensible totalitarian regime. I mean, they really, there's not a nice word you can say really about China. It's a totally oppressive place. If viewers are interested, there's a man called Lord Alton who's very, very good. You can Google him and have a look at his Twitter. He's very good on what China's up to and all of the wrong things. They've imprisoned an entirely innocent man, unsurprisingly, and what is our Prime Minister doing, going over there and sucking up to them and begging to them? What is he doing? Why is he there?
Well, I mean, not only that, right? That's one story that you could ask about as to why he's there. The second story you could ask about is, given what came out yesterday in the Daily Telegraph, that basically, successive Downing Street regimes, if you want to call them that, have been bugged by Chinese military and Chinese intelligence, and they've been listening in on telephone calls between special advisors to prime ministers, going all the way back to Theresa May, certainly Rishi Sunak, probably Boris Johnson. So, they're actively spying against us. Similarly, you could ask the question, what's happened to their chief of their military, who's apparently disappeared amongst stories that he may have been giving secrets to the US of A. There are so many things that he could say when he gets there, but he won't say any of those things, will he?
No, he won't, because he's a spineless coward. The fact is that we collapsed, they collapsed, he collapsed, the case against the alleged Chinese spies because he was unwilling to say that China is our enemy, yet they spy upon us. Right. I mean, this is just, it's just utterly ridiculous. What is the point of being a country if we're just going to keep giving in? Yeah, I mean that has to be asked, and then we have to ask Mike about the entirety of the West, because Canada seems in hock to China too. Right. They've just let them purchase a gold mine in Canada. They're pledging allegiance to them, and everybody's trying to be very anti-American. And we really have to question what on earth is going on when American lives were lost in our defense. Yeah. American soldiers, one of the few peoples to actually die in the cause of our freedom. And what we're turning on them now, are we? We're turning our back on these people, our greatest ever allies, for what? This evil, tyrannical, communist regime. Yeah. It just smacks of convenient communism, Mike.
It does, doesn't it? And this is where we now find ourselves, don't we? Because the hatred for Donald Trump is so visceral and so ridiculous that we find ourselves cozying up to dictators. I mean, it's a slightly tongue-in-cheek poll that we've got going on this morning, but we've got, who's the biggest dictator of all. And Starmer beats President Xi hands down. Because here's a guy who not only wants to stop you from voting in your local council elections, he also wants to stop anybody who might take over from him as leader of the Labour Party from standing in an ordinary by-election. He also wants to make sure that your facial recognition camera is in your street to stop you from doing anything. And poor old Idris Elba even has now been victimised for doing 28 miles per hour on a moped in a 20 mile an hour zone in London, which used to be a 30 mile an hour zone in London. You know, I mean, and we are now living in a sort of, you know, pretty well, I would say, communist state where you get taxed more, you get less freedom than you used to have. You're not allowed to say what you want to say because you might get arrested for it. It's quite ridiculous, isn't it?
Yes, and I think we do have to point out that we're living in a communist state. You know, mums on Twitter are arrested.
Yeah.
Paedophiles walk free. These are not things to ignore.
Right.
When your country's trying to tell you what it is, that's time to pay attention and notice. Our Prime Minister is a petty man. He is Mike. I mean, I'm not scared of him. I find him quite pathetically weak.
Yes.
I mean, Keir Starmer is afraid of Andy Burnham, and I'm afraid any grown man who's afraid of Andy Burnham is pretty pathetic in my view. And that's no insults to the Diddy Andy Burnham, who I'm sure is perfectly sweet. But he's not.
I think he should go back to his old job as a member of New Order and just get on with the music, you know.
Well, I mean, the entire thing is utterly pathetic, and this is what we're doing. We're living in a sort of tyranny. We are living in a tyranny, and it does do tyrannical and awful things. We mustn't forget Lucy Connolly, and we mustn't forget that it does tyrannical and awful things. But it is still nonetheless fundamentally weak. It's fundamentally pathetic. It's not impressive on any level, which is why our Prime Minister is down on his knees begging for China this morning.
Yes, exactly right. Let me play you a little clip from yesterday because this, I think, sums up the state of the nation quite well. It's a clip from LBC, not a radio station that I would normally watch, to be honest. Paul Mason, who is one of the sort of old school lefties, was on there with Andrew Gold yesterday talking about racism. Check this out.
I'm proud of this. We have the leader of the opposition party is a woman, you know, who's Nigerian in origin and is black. And we had a Home Secretary who was black under the Conservatives, and we've now got a Home Secretary who's a Muslim under Labour. What a brilliant country this is. It's reform and it's politics of hate that wants to tear that all apart. So although I will fight Kemi Badenoch's Tory party tooth and nail on policy, I will always say, let's celebrate the fact that we're all part of a political setup that still stigmatises racism, that still stigmatises extremism of the right and the left. The people leaving are the people who are always borderline or explicit racists, and that's the whole racist party.
Like Danny Kruger, I think that's really unfair.
Sorry, I think Danny Kruger, National Conservative, he's laid it all out.
But Suella's a racist?
Well, the Rwanda scheme was racist. Absolutely. The Rwanda scheme
we're talking about politicians right now, and you're the only one that's been talking about their skin colour.
No, I'll tell you why I'm talking about their skin colour, because I'm very, very proud of this country being able to have people of multi-ethnic and multi-faith, because I grew up in a white society that was racist, and I know how hard.
But you think this society is racist?
I know, yes, I do, and I'll tell you why.
How do we have leaders of parties who have different colours?
Because people like me have fought racism for decades. What have you done?
Well, I've not been alive for that many decades.
You're just a podcaster, aren't you? Yeah, you're just a podcaster.
Well, I don't judge people by their skin colour. That's something I can say.
Fight racism.
I can say that I don't judge people.
Tell me what you've done in your life to fight racism.
Even if we try,
tell me,
Paul. Even if we try and pretend that what you said wasn't explicitly racist. Okay, let's say it wasn't racist by judging people by their skin colour. Okay, I just want to say
I'm judging Kemi Badenoch by her performance
and her skin colour.
By her politics. I've said it's brilliant that we have a black leader of the opposition.
Right. Okay, so you admit that. Okay, good. Well, we know that what you said. In my opinion, that's racist. But okay.
I mean, that pretty much sums up the state of play in this country, doesn't it, Stephen? Because there you have Paul Mason, a self-confessed pretty much communist, who only wants to talk about people's skin colour. He thinks it's marvellous that we've got a black leader of the Tory party. He thinks it's amazing that we had an Asian Prime Minister when Rishi Sunak was in charge. He doesn't think that Suella Braverman however, is a good choice, even though she's also brown. I mean, how ridiculous was that whole conversation?
Well, I think it's an important conversation, and I think it's an important one to keep watching, because it just shows how intellectually moribund, that means bankrupt, they are. They are completely dead in the water.
Yeah.
And these people who say that they're terribly keen to fight racism are racist.
Yes.
And they're using racist language. And all we need to do, Mike, and this is probably the only reason I exist in public life, is that I am obsessed with defining words.
Right.
Let's have clear definitions of words. Let's have a clear definition of what racist is. If we have a clear definition of what racist is that we know in advance, then all of us who don't want to be racist, and I'm not a racist and I don't want to say anything, it's just not part of my life.
Yeah.
Then as long as we have a clear definition, we can know exactly what we're saying.
Right.
But to celebrate people based on their skin color is as bad as to damn people based upon their skin color.
Yeah.
And it's just bloody skin color. It's no different from hair color or eye color. It doesn't matter. No one cares. Nobody sane gives a damn about any of this stuff. It's just not a relevant part of our life. And what's really offensive to me in that piece, by the communist who endorses Kemi Badenoch, is the idea that he says he grew up in a racist society. I don't think he did. I don't think he did, Mike, because we fought against Nazi Germany in the Second World War because they were racist and we weren't.
Yes.
Because they invented, and racism itself is a relatively new idea. It was their idea, and it was obviously stupid. And what Britain did during that period was look at them, go, sorry, what, you're trying to say that human beings are good or bad based upon what?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. You people are obviously wrong.
Yeah, and insane and dangerous. And people like Paul Mason, in my view, are insane and dangerous. I've met Paul Mason. I know what he's like. He's a man that sits in a green room and sort of chunters onto himself, doesn't talk to people. He's not what you might call sociable, because he can't be, because he's so eaten up by his own hatred of himself and of what goes on around him, that he's actually not a perfunctory human being. There's something wrong with him, right? And he's just illustrated that very well by explaining how he believes that it's wonderful to live in a country where people have got different skin colour. I mean, you might as well say, isn't it great to live in a world where some people are left-handed? It's idiotic, isn't it? It's mad.
It's utterly pathetic, Mike. I mean, you and I have different hair colour. Does that make us diverse? Is that something to
diversity
be celebrated?
Of hair colour is our strength.
Morally good. I mean, they're just ridiculous. They are intellectually dead in the water.
Yeah.
But for Paul Mason, you can substitute Keir Starmer. I mean, these people believe exactly the same rubbish.
Yes.
Don't forget, it wasn't very long ago that they were banging on and on about how fantastic it was to have a female chancellor.
Yes.
I don't give a toss whether we have a female or a male chancellor. I care about whether the chancellor's competent.
Yeah.
And this
unfortunately,
is not competent.
I've got some bad news. Yes, she's not competent at all. Richard III, as we like to call her. But this is the other thing that Paul Mason sort of forgets. And they do this thing, which is this ridiculous kind of chanting. What have you done to stop racism? And you kind of go, I haven't really done anything. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to do something to stop racism. I mean, what can you answer that question with,
It's absolutely insane. They are cultists. I think it's a replacement religion, Mike.
Yeah.
But it goes down very dark paths very quickly. So we don't just have to laugh at these people. We have to very seriously ensure that they don't take power.
Yes.
There's nothing to celebrate about the identity of a person. It doesn't really matter. In a sane civilization, we don't care. No. Why would you care? We should care, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, about the character of a person, about what they achieve, about what their merits are and their abilities. That's it. And I think we are really at the end of our tether with these chanting people who allegedly are anti-racist, who end up being more racist than those of us who are the normal people, because they go down these rabbit holes. Just stop it. Just go away. We don't care about anybody's identity anymore. We just care about whether or not they're competent. That has to be the line, Mike. It just has to be.
Absolutely. And we should point out that I think it was a couple of elections ago, Paul Mason decided that he wanted to become a Labour Party candidate in a particular area, and he got nowhere near the shortlist, never mind actually getting to the election. So he's about as unpopular as some dog shit on the bottom of your shoe. Pardon me for swearing at this time of the morning. But, you know, the guy is absolutely and utterly reprehensible. And if it was up to me, I would say, you know, put him on the radio every single day, put him on, I'll try and get him on my show every single day to highlight how stupid he is. And the difference between me and him is that if it was him, he'd be saying I should be banned from being on the radio or the television because I might be a racist.
Yes, that's what they do, Mike.
Yeah.
And actually, all credit to Anthony Gold yesterday, because that performance he gave was absolutely stellar.
Absolutely.
Many of us do. And this is what they've done to us. They've done to us this for years because we're not racists. We don't want to be called a racist. So many of us have this sort of, and I've fallen down this. I'm not blaming anyone at all. I am as much to blame as everybody else. I have not wanted to be falsely accused of being a racist. So you end up acting in an odd way because you're terrified of being falsely accused of being a racist.
Yes.
But I am now fed up of this. I am fed up of these people. It's just a means of controlling you, getting you to say what they want you to say, and they can go boil their fat heads, and we're not going to be racist, and we're only going to care about the merits of a person. Yeah. That's all we should have ever cared about. And by the way, whilst caring about the merits of a person, the Chancellor is completely incompetent. The Prime Minister is completely incompetent. Most of this cabinet are completely useless. And I don't care which skin colour any of them have.
Absolutely right. Let's move on to a couple of other stories in the papers this morning, because I want your view particularly on this one, because it's again about our illustrious Prime Minister who's on his way to China. And it's a story on the front page of the Daily Telegraph which says Starmer led a witch hunt against Iraq veterans. It says the Prime Minister's human rights case opened a door to hundreds of soldiers being persecuted. And wouldn't you know it, it's the old combination of Lord Hermer, the man who is our Attorney General, that you and I both, I think, have the same view about, a human rights specialist, and Keir Starmer, when he was working as a lawyer, working for free, basically, to persecute British soldiers who went to Iraq because they were ordered to do so by their military bosses and by the government, going after them for war crimes and doing it for free. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about this man, doesn't it?
Yeah, and let's not forget, because I think Labour will hide this, those veterans were sent to fight in Iraq by a Labour government.
Yes.
Okay, that's who did that. That's who sent them there. And what do the Labour people then do? They turn around and immediately betray them.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And that's because, Mike, it's become fashionable amongst these people, amongst lefty lawyers, to hate the country and to want to persecute anybody who does something like fight in its defense, our veterans. Let's be absolutely honest about who these people are. I mean, so when I first joined social media 6 years ago, you weren't even allowed to say lefty lawyers, because immediately the lefty lawyers jumped on you and said, we're not lefties, we're just independent lawyers doing our duty and doing our nonsense. By acting pro bono, which is just a fancy word for free, Keir Starmer chose to oppress and persecute our veterans for no reason other than that's what the left wing believe in. Yeah. All he wanted to do was signal to his fellow lefties that he was a committed lefty. That's all Lord Hermer, who I often call Lord Hamster, because he does look like Penfold. He does.
Yeah. I call him Lord Harmer because of all the harm he causes, actually.
Well, and I do it quite deliberately, Mike, because Churchill pointed out that totalitarians, authoritarians, which is what these people are, the controlling people, they can't be laughed at. They can't bear to be laughed at. So we should laugh at them at all points. Yeah. I don't mind anyone laughing at me. I've got completely mental hair. I don't mind. You know, none of these things matter, because I'm not a totalitarian controlling weirdo. Right. But they are. And the reason that Keir Starmer and Lord Hermod persecuted our veterans wasn't even really to persecute our veterans. It was just to signal to fellow lefties that they're fully committed to the cause. That's all they do. This is it's a psychosis in humanity. And it never really goes away, Mike. We have to accept that. The great delusion is that we pretend it's gone away. We pretended, you're old enough, I'm old enough to remember when we pretended that the Soviet Union had gone away, that communism had gone away. That's what we do. We pretend it's gone away every time. It never goes away. It always comes back. It's the eternal fight, the eternal struggle. We're going to have to fight communism again, and we're going to have to fight it soon, because at the moment in our country, it's winning.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And what's really disgusting about this particular story and the way that Keir Starmer volunteered his services for free to persecute British soldiers who had put their lives on the line is that not only did they pursue people who were wrongly accused of things, but they actively and willfully pursued people on the basis of evidence that was actually untrue. The Telegraph highlights a case here of a British soldier who had already been cleared twice of murder over the death of an Iraqi man in 2003, basically telling judges that earlier investigations had been perfunctory and wholly inadequate. The soldier in question, Sergeant Richie Catterall, was wrongly pursued for 13 years before an independent judge ruled that he had acted in self-defence, and the allegations cited by Sir Keir Starmer were found to be based in part on a false document which was intended wholly to pin the blame on British troops. So they were actively cooking up a case against British troops who had willfully gone to do their duty at the behest of, as you say, a Labour government, only to be betrayed by the same one.
Yes, lefty lawyers committed fraud in order to persecute and oppress our veterans.
Yeah.
And Sergeant Cotterill deserves all of our respect. In a perfect world, Mike, I think we'd give him an honour. Yeah. And I think we'd do something to respect him. I want your listeners and viewers to understand just how traumatic litigation is. So I used to do litigation for a living. It wasn't traumatic for me because it's my job and that's what I did. But people involved in it, obviously they don't sleep before court hearings. Right. Obviously they don't. Obviously they don't really sleep after court hearings because they're so hyper. It is a very draining process, and to be in that for 13 years, I think Sergeant Cotterill is a hero of a man just to endure that.
Yes,
I mean, I used to have a little thing that I did whenever I finished a case with somebody, which is I'd shake their hands and I'd look them right in the eye and I'd say, "I hope you never see me again,"
right?
Because to see if they saw me, it meant that they were in litigation again. And I wish that they could live a life free of litigation. It's a very, very destructive thing. Yeah. Criminal litigation, where you might lose your freedom, you might be, damned by society as a wrong 'un. When you're somebody like Sergeant Cotterill, who was fought in defense of your country, so you're actually you are a noble knight of this realm, whether we recognize it or not. That's what he is. He is a hero of our country. To be damned, to be oppressed in this way is just utterly cruel and vicious. But this is who the left are now.
Yeah.
Let nobody avoid this. Let nobody pretend that the left wing care about people, have any emotions, are in any way nice. They are petty, destructive bureaucrats. What a concept I call, Mike, lawful evil. That's what they are. They use rules and laws to oppress people and commit evil. And you can do that. It's not nice and it's vicious, but that's what they are. That's what these people are.
They really are. And it's kind of a soulless existence that they have as well, isn't it? Because they're such ideologues that they can't see love. They can't see, friendship. They can't see anything other than just their ideological obsession with whatever it is that they happen to be, going after that particular day. Look at Rachel Reeves on the front page of the Daily Mail today, basically putting to death the high street. That's the words that they use in the headline. Reeves puts the nail in the coffin. And I was talking to somebody this morning about this. Pub owners particularly, who have been given a sort of slight reprieve from the business rates that are going through the roof, which are about to close, I think, probably 1,000 pubs over the course of the next year. Basically saying it's a bit like somebody coming round to your house, breaking your arm, giving you a paracetamol for the pain and making you say that you're grateful for them helping you. That's what it's like.
Yeah. This is what these people are, Mike, and you're absolutely right to use the word soulless.
Yeah.
I don't remember us being a very publicly religious country, so I'm always mildly embarrassed to sort of talk about it at all. But I'm a Christian, and that means that I care about people. I think everybody is equal. I think all of us are beautiful souls, and I think we probably do need to use this stuff and to start talking about this language. Otherwise, you end up like Rachel Reeves. I mean, look at her. What is the point of her? I mean, just a total waste of time. And she's hurting people and destroying the economy. And the entire thing is an absolute car crash. Yeah, she's rode back 15%. So she did 100% damage, and now she's promising to only do 85% damage. Right. It's just pathetic.
Well, it's like somebody mugging you, isn't it? Right? And they take your wallet, they take your watch, they take your handbag, and then they give you back a couple of quid and go, there's your bus fare home.
Exactly. That is exactly what it is, Mike. And it is as reprehensible. She has absolutely no authority to do this. They're never acting within their manifesto, and they are just trashing the country. The real question, Mike, is, because I'm going to have to leave you soon, but the real question is, how long can this government last? Because it's dead in the water. Yeah. It's got no ideas. It's begging to China whilst hurting the rest of us.
Yeah, it is absolutely staggering. And just one final thing, I know you have to rush off, and I'm really grateful for you spending time with us this morning. The number of migrants brought into Britain under Labour's one-in, one-out deal with France is 25% higher than the total who have been removed. So once again...
Of course it is. Of course it is, Mike.
They have done the magic trick in reverse.
Of course it is. We've got to accept that they want the migrants. There is no other answer than that Labour want the migrants. Yeah. He promised to smash the gangs. They've been in office for nearly 2 years now. They've done absolutely nothing. Yeah. They want the migrants. Grow up, Britain. Realize that these people just lie. That's all they do. They just lie to you. And so you can only judge them by their actions. And just realize what they do. They want these migrants. They are trying to terrorize us. Look at Crowborough. They have imported 500 random, potentially dangerous men in order to traumatize an entire community. That community is going to be absolutely terrified. That's what they want, Mike. They are terrorizing us. They want us scared. They want us controlled. They want to be able to threaten us by calling us racists when we're obviously not racist. And that's all that these people do. They are petty, vicious, dangerous people who should never have been anywhere near power, and we should make sure that the Labour Party in particular is never in office again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll finish with a fantastic image there just appeared on the screen from one of our listeners and viewers who says Starmer won't stop the boats, but he will stop the votes.
Good.
Well,
good.
One of the great,
I think the Labour Party should die. And it's sad for people like, I got to shake the MP Graham Stringer's hand. Yeah. It's sad for, you and I think we're both close to Claire Fox. We've got friends on the left. It's sad for them, but the Labour Party needs to die because whatever this thing is, it's just vicious, pathetic, petty and venal, and it can't carry on. We're not going down this road. We're not going to have a dictator. Thank you very much. Go away.
Yes, brilliant. Stephen, so great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a very, very lovely Wednesday.